They say good fences make good neighbors. But what do you do when the neighbor believes they own the entire neighborhood? What do you do when the very person tasked with maintaining order treats your home like her personal vacation resort? Let me take you into a story that started with a splash and ended with handcuffs, hidden cameras, and a very public humiliation for the self-appointed queen of the HOA. It started small, almost too small to notice. I'd recently moved into the neighborhood, a nice gated suburban community with tree-lined streets, trimmed hedges, and those little free libraries on every corner. My house came with a gorgeous backyard pool, one of the few in the area. That pool was my dream, my escape from long work hours and the stress of city life. But it didn't stay peaceful for long. It was early summer when I noticed the first signs. Towels that weren't mine. A half-empty can of Diet Coke on the table. Wet footprints on the patio when I came home from work. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I left something out. Maybe I forgot. Maybe a bird knocked over a can. But then came the kicker. One Saturday morning, I woke up earlier than usual and walked out to my patio with a cup of coffee, and there she was. A woman, mid-50s, blonde hair slicked back, wearing oversized sunglasses, a wide-brimmed hat, and stretched out on one of my loungers like she was at a spa. Her phone was plugged into my outlet. Her tote bag sat beside her like she was on vacation. I didn't even get the chance to say a word before she greeted me. "Oh, you're finally up. I figured you wouldn't mind. The sun's just so perfect right now, you know." I stood there in stunned silence. I didn't even know her name at the time. She introduced herself as Karen Whitmore. Yes, that Karen, and she was the president of the HOA. She said she had every right to inspect all community resources. I politely informed her that my pool was not a community resource. It was a part of my private property, enclosed with a fence and very much off limits without permission. Karen just smiled, pulled her sunglasses down, and said, "Oh, don't be silly. We're all neighbors here." That was the beginning of the madness. Over the next 2 weeks, I kept finding more evidence that she was sneaking in. Towels removed. My lounge chair cushions were wet even on days I hadn't used the pool. Once, she left behind a soggy paperback romance novel. I installed a lock on the gate and security lights, and still, it continued. I filed a complaint with the HOA. Guess who reviewed it? Karen. She dismissed it as a misunderstanding and warned me about being hostile to the community. Hostile? I was just trying to keep my home private. Then one evening, I came home a bit earlier than usual. As I opened my side gate, I heard splashing. I quietly crept to the edge of my yard and peeked over. Karen again. This time, she had a full floaty, sunglasses, a margarita, and was playing soft jazz from a waterproof speaker. She didn't see me, but I had my phone out and filmed the entire thing from behind a row of bushes. I thought this was it. This video would end the whole nightmare. I brought it straight to the HOA, demanded a meeting, and showed the footage to the board. But instead of being shocked, they seemed embarrassed. Awkward glances, forced smiles. Karen's best friend was on the board. Her brother-in-law handled the HOA finances. It was clear the HOA wasn't going to help me. So I took matters into my own hands. I upgraded my fence, installed motion detectors, set up cameras that fed directly to my phone, and I posted clear signs: private property, nitrogen monoxide trespassing. And yet, she still came. Karen didn't just sneak in. She dared me to stop her. Once, she waved at the camera before diving in. I was done playing nice. That's when I decided to set a trap, not anything dangerous. Just something she wouldn't see coming. I called a friend of mine, Mark, who works in home security. Together, we hooked up a loud siren system to the gate. The moment someone opened it without the key fob, it would wail like a fire alarm. We also added a motion-activated sprinkler system designed to deter raccoons, but perfect for surprise intruders. And then I waited. Sure enough, 3 nights later, my phone buzzed. Motion detected. Gate open. Then. We hear. The siren exploded through the quiet night. My phone lit up with a live feed, and there she was. Karen. Caught mid-step. Froze like a deer in headlights as sprinklers exploded around her. She shrieked, stumbled backward, and fell straight into a muddy flower bed. I sprinted outside. By the time I got to the gate, she was trying to climb back over, drenched, muddy, and furious. "How dare you?" she screamed. I calmly pointed to the camera and said, "I told you, this is private property." And then she slapped me right across the face. I didn't hit back. I didn't yell. I just pulled out my phone, already dialing the police. "Hello, yes, I need an officer. I have video evidence of trespassing and assault." "Yes, I'm pressing charges." Karen tried to play it off when the cops arrived. Claimed she was just checking the safety of the pool. The officers reviewed the footage, saw the sign, heard the siren, watched her hit me. She was placed in handcuffs right there on my driveway. The whole neighborhood watched. It was the quietest I'd ever seen her. As they led her away, she screamed about lawsuits and her rights. But there was no right to violate someone else's home. No right to act like royalty in a community of equals. Karen was charged with trespassing and simple assault, but that wasn't even the real twist, because the next day, I got an envelope in the mail slipped under my door, and inside, photos, screenshots, notes, from someone else in the HOA. Anonymous. And what those photos showed. Karen had been sneaking into multiple homes in the neighborhood. Mine wasn't the only pool she used. She'd let herself into unlocked gates, relaxed, in people's yards, took mail from their boxes, used electricity from outdoor outlets. The rabbit hole went much deeper than I ever thought, and the person sending me the envelope wanted to take her down. What happened next? No one in the neighborhood will ever forget. You'd think getting arrested in front of the whole neighborhood would be enough to make someone disappear, or at least apologize, but Karen wasn't wired like that. For most people, shame burns. For her, it seemed to fuel her even more. After the arrest, I didn't see her for a few days. The neighborhood got oddly quiet. A few people avoided eye contact when I walked by. A couple of neighbors even thanked me in hushed tones, but no one dared say anything openly. It was clear Karen still had her claws in the HOA, even if she'd been cuffed on my driveway. But the game had changed, because now I had something. She didn't know about an anonymous ally from within the HOA. The envelope they left had no name, no return address, just evidence. Real, undeniable proof that Karen had been trespassing on multiple properties. One picture even showed her taking tomatoes from someone's backyard garden in the middle of the night. It felt like a spy movie, except the villain wore linen pantsuits and demanded everyone's recycling bins be color coordinated. I decided to play it smart. I scanned the photos, organized the evidence, and began compiling a detailed report. I contacted a few of the neighbors whose properties were shown. Some were shocked, others angry, but none were surprised. "She's been walking around like she owns the street for years," one man said. "My wife caught her using our backyard hose once and she said she was checking for leaks." Another woman added, "She used our hot tub while we were out of town, left behind a wine glass and blamed it on our teenage son." It wasn't just trespassing. It was habitual entitlement. The more we talked, the more people opened up. I realized Karen had been getting away with this for a long time, using the HOA as both a shield and a sword. She controlled the board, bullied homeowners into silence, and weaponized petty rules against anyone who pushed back. But now, she'd picked the wrong pool. Together, a group of us formed an unofficial neighborhood alliance. We met quietly, rotated homes, avoided emails and messages that could be tracked. We shared our experiences, dug into HOA meeting records, and started building a case. And then we got our break. One of our group, Angela, worked in real estate and knew how to pull public documents. She discovered something huge. Karen wasn't even technically the HOA president anymore. Her term had expired 6 months ago, but she never held elections. Just kept showing up and acting like she was still in charge. The board had never enforced term limits. They just got along with it. And that was our way in. We gathered every bit of documentation, from security footage to signed neighbor statements, and requested an emergency HOA meeting under the bylaws. Something Karen couldn't legally block. We sent the notice. And this time, we didn't just invite board members, we invited every homeowner in the neighborhood. The turnout was massive. People filled the community hall like it was a town hall revolt. Folding chairs were packed, kids sat on laps, even the retired couple from 3 doors down, who never left their house, showed up. Karen walked in like nothing was wrong. Pearl earrings, a clipboard. That smug look like she'd already won. But when she saw the slideshow we'd set up, the photos, the videos, the official documents, her face changed. For the first time, she looked small. Angela stood up first. This meeting has been called under Section 4 of the HOA Charter. Due to multiple violations of privacy, abuse of power, and the expiration of term limits, we are calling for an immediate vote to restructure the board. Karen laughed nervously. This is absurd. You people don't understand what it takes to keep this community running. But she couldn't stop it. We played the video of her diving into my pool, the audio from the night she set off the sirens, the statements from neighbors, the screenshots of texts she sent trying to intimidate residents, and then the bombshell. Someone we still don't know who had placed a recording device during one of the past board meetings. The recording played loud and clear for the entire room. Karen, as long as I'm in charge, I'll use what I want, when I want. That pool? It's practically the community's. He should be grateful I even go back there. Silence. She turned pale. The vote was swift. Unanimous. Karen was removed from the HOA board immediately. She tried to fight it, threatened legal action. But the bylaws were airtight, and now she was on the outside looking in. But the story doesn't end there, because karma, as they say, is a deep dive in cannonball. 2 weeks after her removal, her own yard became a war zone. Not vandalism just consequences. Every rule she'd weaponized against us was now used against her. Trash bins left out past 8 a.m. Fine. Grass half an inch too high. Fine. Holiday decorations 1 day too early. Another fine. In the best part, the new HOA board was made up of people she used to bully, now armed with the very same rulebook she had written. Eventually, Karen put her house up for sale. She blamed a toxic community environment. When the real estate listing went live, someone anonymously tagged the house on Zillow with a new feature description: backyard access to neighbor's pool. Not included. Petty? Maybe. Deserved? Absolutely. But I didn't stop there. See, Karen wasn't just a nuisance. She was a symptom of something bigger. An unchecked power structure where one person could rule without accountability. That couldn't happen again. So we restructured the HOA itself. We added term limits, mandatory elections, a rotating committee to oversee board actions, transparency in all decisions. It became a neighborhood again. Not a kingdom. People started chatting more, hanging out, hosting BBQs, actually inviting neighbors to swim instead of stealing it. And me? I still have my pool. Still have my loungers. But now, when I hear a splash in the backyard, it's because I've invited someone over, not because Queen Karen decided to declare herself welcome. Looking back, I realized something important. You don't fight entitlement by stooping to its level. You fight it with truth, with unity, with people standing up not just for their property, But for principles, the story of Karen wasn't just about a trespassing HOA president. It was about reclaiming respect, reclaiming community, reclaiming peace. So the next time someone crosses the line, whether it's over a fence or into your home or just into your space, don't second guess yourself. Because boundaries matter. And sometimes holding your ground is the loudest message you can send.